Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of The Moments That Made Us. Wow. I think we're getting close to 20 episodes, Andy. I have almost recorded 20 episodes. I just started doing this in, I think, April, and I'm pretty excited. And you're here, which is fantastic. And you texted me out of nowhere and you said, I want to be on your podcast. And I said, let's do it.
I've never
Let's
done
do
one
it.
before, so it looked like fun. So here we are.
That's
Thanks
awesome.
thanks for indulging me.
You passed the test. The only caveat for my podcast is we have to already be friends. I'm not just interviewing random people that I don't know.
Right.
So, Andy Carter, ladies and gentlemen, and you're coming to us from where? Wisconsin, Florida?
No, so I grew up in New York, Buffalo, New York.
But hold on. But
What?
I just think it's fun when I interview people that aren't in like the same town as me.
Oh,
But
right.
Are you in Huntersville right now? Or are you in like?
I'm in my house in
Dang it!
I'm in my house in Huntersville.
Dang it! All right, okay.
Sorry.
It'll do. It is fun though when I get to interview somebody who's in like California. I'm waiting for the day. I've got a friend of mine, David, who agreed to be on the podcast like 6 months ago, but I've just never followed up with him. But he's in Denmark working as a designer at Lego right now.
Oh,
So
nice.
he's got a story to tell. But today we're talking to Andy Carter, the original. Don't be fooled by any fake Andy Carters, but coming at you from Huntersville, North Carolina. That's where we both are. And those of you who aren't from around here, that is just north of Charlotte. Oh, Andy, how about the Charlotte Hornets got the dub last night? First game
Yeah.
of the season, got the dub against the Atlanta Hawks. I was very, very pleased.
I wasn't watching.
Okay, well, we'll talk about another sport then, because
hopefully they can get to 10 wins this year.
Oh gosh, yeah, it is a sad state of affairs down here for Charlotte sports, including the 0-6 Panthers. So let's talk about baseball then, because that's your sport of choice. Mine growing up was lacrosse and skateboarding, but for you, it's baseball. So we need right now, the people demand it. Now they're going to hear this after the World Series ends. But what's your prediction? We got the Diamondbacks versus the Texas Rangers. Best of 7. What's your prediction?
It's a tough one. I think Texas is a better team, but the Diamondbacks are hot. So, you never know what can happen. I was surprised to see Philly lose after having, 2 chances at home with that crazy crowd, but I think I got to go with Texas, Mike.
All right.
Plus, one of my best buddies that I played ball with at Davidson's a scout for the Rangers too, so we can support him that way.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Andy, you're coming to us from Huntersville, but you just mentioned a minute ago that you grew up in New York. Is that what you said? So walk us through just like the 1 minute version of just growing up in the Northeast. What did you get into? What was life like for you?
Yeah, so it snows like crazy, as everybody knows. Buffalo is a beautiful place for about 2 or 3 months of the year. Great people, great food. But I'm happy to be in North Carolina now. Let's put it that way. So I grew up there for 18 years and then came down to college at Davidson to play baseball, and then I've been down here ever since.
Shout out Steph Curry.
Yeah, shout out to Steph. He's okay. He's doing pretty well for himself, I'd say. But
you weren't there at the same time, were you?
No. So I graduated in 2005, and then Steph was a freshman the next year. So.
Wow.
As we'll get into, like you and I talked about. I stayed in the off seasons for baseball.
Oh, gotcha.
And so cool. I was staying training, and so I got to see Steph as a freshman moving through before people know who he was. So
yeah,
that was cool.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Back when Andy was just a little pup growing up in upstate New York.
Western. That's a key debate that everybody has.
Oh, I don't say upstate?
No, upstate is like Rochester, Syracuse. Buffalo is a thing that it's got to be Western. So you learn
Yeah.
something new every day, Mike.
So I
There
need to
you
know whether your school, when you were in elementary school or middle school, whether you took field trips to Niagara Falls.
go.
Isn't that real close to there?
Yeah, it's Buffalo is basically Canada. I mean, you're 5 minutes
Yeah.
from the border.
Wow.
If that. Niagara Falls have been several times. It's one of those places where you take someone for the first time and
Uh-huh.
they love it, but then when you live
Uh-huh.
there, you don't really go there routinely.
Uh-huh.
It kind of gets old after a while. But it's
Exactly.
obviously an unbelievable place, especially in the
Yeah.
wintertime when the mist from the falls freezes in the air. So all the street poles and the trees are just like humongous, like ice cubes or icicles. It's pretty cool.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fun place for
That's
kids
awesome.
too. They
Yeah.
decorate it and everything. So
That's cool.
yeah,
So you got into baseball early in life? Like
yeah,
real early or
yeah. Just I think my parents started me when I was like 5 or 6. T-ball and all that, and obviously with the seasonality, you don't get much time outside. So in high school, our seasons were 4 weeks long.
oh my
We
gosh.
would our conditioning would be in the hallways of my high school,
Uh-huh.
running laps and hoping to
Uh-huh.
dodge the teachers that are trying to go home. We would take fly balls in the parking lots just because they were plowed and there
Uh-huh.
was open space to do that. And then ground balls and stuff is in the gymnasium, dodging
Uh-huh.
baseball basketball practice. So
Uh-huh.
you don't get much time. I mean, we played many games in the snow flurries, 38 degrees,
Wow.
whatever, for
Yeah.
4 weeks, and then you're done. So
Wow.
yeah, it's
So the
wild.
season is just like April and May or something?
Yeah, like April 1st to May 15th, and then you're done.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah. It's actually
gosh.
that's not even the right math. You know what I'm saying? It's about a
Yeah,
month.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it'll stretch if you make it, to playoffs and stuff. But
Yeah. So when you started, was it just a wild hair for your parents? Like, oh, Andy, why don't you play baseball? And they could have chosen soccer, they could have chosen ice hockey, they could have chosen anything, or was there a reason like your dad played growing up, or was there a reason like that, or was it just kind of very arbitrary?
you'd have to ask them. I don't know. I played basketball, played soccer, and I played
Mm-hmm.
baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball kind of stood out as what I was doing the best at. So I think that's probably
Mm-hmm.
why I started getting into travel and forward. I
Mm-hmm.
hated soccer. Soccer. A lot of people are not going to like that necessarily, but there's just so much running,
It's all running.
so much running.
It's all running.
But
You don't
pitchers
stop running.
pitchers just run all the time too. So that's the whole
Uh-huh.
thing. I don't have to do that anymore, which is great. I prefer to walk or just do something else, lift weights, but running,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I stuck with that. Even played golf in high school
Nice.
just to get free 9 holes after school every day. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Nice.
I really wish I played football. That's like my one regret from my high school
Mm.
sporting days. Like I would have loved to have been the quarterback of the football team. But I
Yeah.
think my parents didn't want me to get hurt for baseball because
Right.
things were trending well, and it's a smart decision.
Right.
Um, I need to go ask them that actually. I've never asked that exact question. Hey,
There you
mom,
go.
now that I'm 40, what was this decision about 25 years ago? So
Yeah. It was funny me growing up a skateboarder and a lacrosse player. Obviously, my dad could not do any of those things with me, which most, the American, view out the window is dad playing catch with his kid.
mm,
You picture it. But my dad couldn't do that because he didn't know how to play lacrosse or ride skateboards. And he actually decided one day to get a baseball mitt out of our garage, and we went out and played catch. Him with his baseball mitt and a lacrosse ball, and me with my lacrosse stick. It was actually pretty cool. I still remember it. We did that a
sweet,
couple times.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
probably
great
hurt his
memories.
hand pretty bad. But so fast forward, you come to Davidson. You play baseball at Davidson, and you graduate one year before Steph. You become part of the coaching staff at Davidson, correct?
Down the line. Yeah,
Okay.
that was probably Shoot, you know how this goes. Like the older you get, the more things you have to remember from your past when you're recounting your resume. That I was probably coaching there in like the 2010 range, so that was like 5 years
Okay,
out of college. Yeah. So
gotcha. And then when did this? So we're attacking baseball right now, which is I'm personally fascinated. So this is just selfishly I want to know your baseball history, and then we're going to dive into your moment here in a sec. So you get an opportunity to go into the Major League Baseball draft in what year?
so you're able to be drafted after your or the rules were that after your junior year you can be
Okay.
drafted. Um, and so how that works is sometimes you're drafted after your junior year of college, sometimes after your senior year, or you can be drafted
Hmm.
out of high school, but you can't be drafted as a freshman or a sophomore in college.
Okay.
That's just how they were in 2005. I'm sure there are little tweaks to that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
So you enter the draft. What I don't even understand what that is
sure.
like.
Yeah. So
Like, do you
so
have to go somewhere? Do you have to fill out paperwork? Do you have to do interviews? Do you have to do
yeah.
like a tell me.
Sure. So in the summers, so at Davidson, I was playing summer baseball. So I played in Fayetteville one summer. I played in Wilson another summer. So you're just living with host families, driving all around the southeast,
Mhm.
eating stale peanut butter and jelly every night, just trying to play with good competition. And there's a lot of scouts in the summer.
Mhm.
After my junior year, there was a little bit of traction where some scouts were saying we might look at taking you and stuff like that, but there's a little bit of nuance to it because if you're drafted as a junior, there's not much incentive to leave college if you're a late draft pick because a lot of guys
Mhm.
will come back. You don't want to forego your education or whatever, and so
Mhm.
they'll come back for their senior year. And so I don't think I was going to be drafted high enough where they thought that I would leave.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't want that to I want that to sound the right way, Mike. So basically I was not talented enough to be drafted as a junior to where I would leave Davidson.
Okay.
Um, so then senior year comes along and how it works is I don't even think you have to enter. It's just, hey, we're either interested in you or not as a player. And
Right.
so you'll get kind of these like cold letters in the mail that they'll go to
Uh-huh.
your head coach or to your dorm or whatever from different teams with questions. What are your interests and kind of behavioral type questions.
Mhm.
And it's the most exciting thing ever. It's like a Christmas present. Every time you get one, you feel like big time. Oh, I got this from the Royals or the Blue Jays or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Um, especially being like a fringy. I mean, I had a good career at Davidson, but I was not like a superstar, like for sure, like you're definitely going to get drafted really high. It wasn't like that. So every little piece of those, every little thing like that, you grasp onto. And I probably had
Yeah.
20 to 25 teams do that for me.
Uh-huh.
And then it whittled down. And if teams really are interested in you, they'll call you and you'll sit down and they'll ask you questions like, are you going to sign if you get drafted? What kind of signing bonus will you require? Because some kids, if you get drafted back then, there were 50 rounds, and so if you
Mhm.
get drafted in the 47th round and they offer you $2,000, and
Uh-huh.
you're coming from Harvard or Davidson or whatever, there are
Yeah.
kids who would just be like, hey, I'm going to pharmacy school. I'm going to make more money that
Uh-huh.
way.
Uh-huh.
My elbow hurts anyways, so don't worry about it.
Uh-huh.
And these scouts, their job is to find talent, so they don't want to waste a pick on you there. So
Right.
fast forward,
Interesting.
there were
Yeah.
three teams that were talking to me the most. It was the Tigers, the Rays, and the A's. And
Okay.
so they all said, "Hey, we're looking at you in like the 18 to 22nd round."
Uh-huh.
And day one was its first 25 rounds, and I didn't get picked. So that was
Oh.
an interesting night. I actually went by myself to the soccer field down the street, and it was just, and I'm not a soccer player. Again,
Uh-huh.
I had like three soccer balls or in my garage or something. I went out there and was
Uh-huh.
just blasting balls like over, like
Uh-huh.
trying to kick field goals, just trying to get my mind off of
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I've really shared this story before, so this is going to be interesting to my family that hears this. But um, day two comes along, and you're listening on the computer. So this is old, Mike. Like we're old.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so two,
Older.
two, two,
Easy.
two,
Easy.
2005. Um, it's like nowadays they have it on television and the kids go to the draft, like not as much for the
Sure.
as football, but for baseball the
Yeah.
first couple of rounds. But back then I was listening on a computer,
Uh-huh.
it goes rapid fire. Uh, you know, Tiger select draft ID 752616, Joe Schmo from Duke University.
Uh-huh.
And then someone will repeat it, and then the next team will. It's like a huge conference call will come in, and so I was
Wow.
listening and round. I was looking, and there's a ticker, and it shows Tiger select right-handed pitcher from Arizona, Tiger select right-handed pitcher from North Mech High School or whatever it is. And so like the
Yeah.
teams that said they were going to take me are taking other people at my position. I was like, shoot, like I don't know what's going to
Uh-huh.
happen here. And
Uh-huh.
then round 35 comes along, and I hear my name, and
Uh-huh.
then I blacked out, I think. And then
Uh-huh.
I heard E's, so I didn't know if it was the Rockies or whatever. And then I saw it come across,
Phillies.
right. And so then I saw it come across the ticker that it was the Yankees, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
I did not talk to them at all.
Wow.
So yeah, there may have been a letter, like one of those I spoke on earlier, but there was no contact whatsoever. So
Yeah.
total surprise. I mean,
So
you're
interesting.
going to need to cut me off here because I can keep going on this.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be, I mean, this is already,
Yeah.
we're already 15 minutes in. So what this is going to end up being is a 2-for-1 for anyone listening, because we're hearing 2 stories from your life, which is cool. But so you play
Hmm.
1 year and tap out, or you're like, this just isn't going anywhere. Did you decide to tap out, or were you kind of like,
Oh no,
hey, you're tapping out, where
no.
your hand was forced?
It's such a competitive situation, so they buy
Mm-hmm.
you a plane flight, you fly down to Tampa, and
Mm-hmm.
as a 22-year-old college graduate, late draft pick, I signed for $1,000. Like after
Mm-hmm.
taxes, I think it was like 686. And then
Wow.
the guy with the locker next to me signed for 500K, and he was complaining about the taxes on his thing. I was like, buddy, this is like
Mm.
half a month rent right here, so I don't want to hear it.
Mm.
Um, Lance Pendleton from Rice. Shout out to him. He'll never see this,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
where are we going with this? But yeah, I mean, you show up to the first the training down there right after the draft, and there's instantly 40 18-year-old Dominican, Venezuelan guys that all throw 97 miles an hour, and like it's
And what were
unbelievable.
you throwing?
And I was 88 to 92 with mediocre break and pitch. I could throw strikes and had success at Davidson, which gave me the opportunity to play at the next level. But
Right.
there's just so many, like as you go up, it kind of you
Gosh.
right. So
You become a little fish in a big pond all
yeah,
of a sudden.
so I had one season with them. We won the championship in the Gulf Coast League down in Tampa, and then I got cut in December of that year. I was literally tying my shoes to go to the gym when I got the call, December 22nd, I
Uh,
think it was, 2005, from the farm director who said, "Yeah, we're just not going to have enough innings for you, so we're
uh,
not going to bring you to spring training." So that sucked, but
yeah.
everything happens for a reason, and
Yeah.
that was part of my story. So um, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to fast forward how many years? I mean, when was Camden born? Camden was born in,
Yeah, so
how old's
my
how
son
old's he
was
now? Like 8?
he was born in 2015, so he's about a little over 8.5 now, third
Yeah.
grade. Yeah,
Uh I guessed it right. So
yeah.
fast forward 10 years, and Andy is now a papa of a couple little munchkins, and so you have an older daughter, and then Camden's born, and you have 3 total or 2 total?
I have three. Yeah,
So there's one younger than Camden, right?
yeah. That's Brooklyn.
Another girl.
Yep,
What's that?
that's Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yep, Brooklyn's
And
in
so
first grade.
tell us about what happened with Camden, because you're just going about your business, happy-go-lucky kid, and he starts showing some kind of symptoms, or he starts acting strange, or he says, I have a headache. What
Yeah,
led to discovering his condition?
yeah. So Camden was always a little stiff. Um, in his muscle tone, and he had one eye was twitching a little bit all the time. I can't remember the medical word for it.
And that's even from when he was little, little?
From as he started getting older,
Okay.
when he's 2, 3, the preschool teacher would tell me, hey, he's having a hard time getting out of the little cars during recess, and not much hip mobility. He's
Mm-hmm.
kind of stiff walking around. So went to all kinds of
Huh.
doctors, different professionals, neurologists, PT. I can't even remember. There were so many different people that kept referring us to different people.
Mm-hmm.
We even went to a medical hospital that I won't name, but local. I mean, in the Carolinas,
Mm-hmm.
that evaluated Camden and said, "There's." I asked the question, "Is there any chance of something more serious, like a tumor somewhere or something?" And they said no. They said no. He'd be way more
Wow.
sick. They said he'd be way more sick than he is.
Huh.
So fast forward another month or so, and he started having some incontinence more frequently. And so the doctors said, hey, let's just get him in for an MRI. And they did an MRI on his brain and found a tumor 6 by 6 by 8 centimeters,
Mm.
um, kind of like a credit card cubed in the right side of his brain. And so how that works is he's in there for the scan, and you're kind of just
Oh,
like, I don't know what's happening right now. You're praying, you're crying, you're confused, you're in kind of a shock state. And
yeah.
you watch him go under, and that's all first time. Now he's had at least, I mean, I've sat him down on the board in the MRI room at least 28 times now under sedation. So now it's like old habit.
Oh,
He's got another one coming up on November 15th. So for y'all out there who are prayers, this would be a good one.
yeah.
But So then the white coat comes
Whew.
in, the doctor comes in and says, "Hey, can you have a seat?" And I wasn't processing at this time that there were going to be bad news delivered.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why they have you have a seat, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, we discovered XYZ, and then the next thing you know, all kinds of different doctors are coming in, your head's spinning. And I, sent a text to I called my parents. I was like, yeah, Camden has a tumor in his brain, and this is what's happening. And there's, then you're kind of silent on both ends of the line, and crying, and it's just like your life changes like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Whew.
Hmm.
So what is the rest of that day like? Like, were you just in a
um
fog? Did you take the kids to Taco Bell? What was the rest of that day like? I can't imagine.
yeah, so my kids, so 15, so Brooklyn wasn't born yet, and Aislinn was with my parents.
Yeah.
um and no, it's just, honestly, it's one of those things where you can't really focus on anything. It was
Did you just go home
I
and
don't
just kind
remember.
of sit
No,
around?
no, because it needed to be operated on. So
Oh
um,
my gosh.
yeah, immediately. And
Wow.
the
Okay.
surgeon comes in and says, "Dad, if this was in your head, it would kill you." But
Uh-huh.
because he's so young, it is taking up most of his head. But things are malleable enough. Maybe I don't. That's not very medical of me, but I think that
Right.
they said we can go in. And so
Oh.
it was either the next morning or 2 mornings later when his surgeon came in, and obviously this is just a cute little kid. He was happy as can be, not ornery.
And
And
he was how old at
he
this
was
point?
4. He was 4 at this
Okay.
point. Yeah. And I'll never forget. Um, so they come in and they shave his head, and
Uh-huh.
the surgeon uh, puts his initials where he's going to operate, right? And he had a nurse who came in and sang, "Our God is awesome,"
Uh-huh.
and the kid is just smiling because he doesn't know that he's about to have half his head chopped out.
Uh-huh.
And you're sitting there that knowing that you're not knowing what's going on. And he's sitting there just like, oh, there's this nurse, Yukima Miller, singing to me right now. What's
Mm-hmm.
happening? And so it's just like the whirlwind of emotions of trying to, and kind of how I've handled his situation over the last 4 years, and I'm actually now more able to talk about it openly, is just
Mm-hmm.
that, like, you don't want to show him fear, right? You got to show, kind of project strength
Yeah.
for him,
Yeah.
and because you don't want to make him
And
scared,
courage. Like,
right? So yeah,
oh, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
lot. It's a lot. So even to this day, Mike, he's like I said, he gets scans every 3 months, and he's had like 28 or 29. And we don't even talk about his MRIs until the night before. I say, hey, bud, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to the doctor tomorrow, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't, anytime with a child. I mean, as adults, we have enough worries of our own. We
Mm-hmm.
have strict instructions from God's word not to
Mm-hmm.
do that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
things creep in, and for a child, there's no reason to give him more to worry about than he needs to. Like, I want him to go outside and play with his friends and not be thinking about, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I have to have, needles stuck in me again in 5 days and 4 days and 3 days. So,
Right.
yeah.
So
Mm.
where are we at now? What's going on right now with Camden?
So,
He's stable. They
yeah.
were able to remove it.
So
It's
he's had three surgeries, two craniotomies, which are very obviously major, where they basically slice this hole from
mm-hmm.
his ear to the front,
Mm-hmm.
um, or from his forehead to his ear, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
did the whole chemotherapy thing. After number 17, got allergic to it, so I had to come off of that. And then that's when I did the third surgery to try to get it all out. And I'll never forget walking around in the park outside Levine's by myself, just
Mm-hmm.
in prayer. Like, it was a 25% chance that he could be paralyzed. They said, when you go in and it's an 8-hour surgery and you don't know, like, the life of your son truly is in God's hands and in the surgeon's
Mm-hmm.
hands there, and you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know what's going to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
they call you once an hour from the operating room. It's a nurse and says, hey, just, we're still working. Talk to you in another hour. And so
Mm-hmm.
that goes by. But to kind of try to shorten the story, after the chemo, he's been on an oral drug for 2 years, stable. So there's still some spots left, very minor, but he's been stable. Side effects are minor. He's not immunocompromised. He goes to school. He's in third grade. He plays recess with his friends. He loves. He's on a baseball team,
Mm-hmm.
um, with physical challenges, but he's part of a team, and he's enjoying it. And
Mm-hmm.
he's, to anyone who sees this, who's not seeing, or who has met him or hasn't met him yet, like, his nickname is the mayor, because he just kind of controls and commands the room, and he's a little bit of a pistol, and just kind of, just want to make his life as normal as possible, right? For as long
Yeah.
as possible, because it's not a curable thing unless it's extracted fully. And some of the
Got you.
cells are just kind of intertwined so deeply in his optic nerve and whatnot, and other important areas of his brain, that it's too risky to go after. So
Yeah. Ay, ay, ay.
it's a lot.
Well,
It's definitely a lot. But again,
we
he's
gotta land the plane here in a minute,
yeah.
but
Sorry.
I know it is a lot, a lot, a lot. It's weight, like heavy stuff.
Yep.
But I would love, just for the last 2 or 3 minutes, for you to share a little bit of epiphanies, realizations. You were
Hmm.
saying before we press record, like, that you've been just obsessed with this whole idea of we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and
Mm.
to make your life count today, and not keep waiting around, or and have ambition or have courage. So talk a little bit about that. Like, how are you,
Yeah.
how has your thinking changed from this whole situation with Camden?
It opens your eyes. Obviously, everyone, when you're thinking about what your life is going to look like, you might have a plan of, oh, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and this is the normal way, and this is the normal way, and whatever. And then you get blindsided, right, and everything changes. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for me, Mike, a lot lately, just about the finite nature of life. Like, you never know what's going to happen. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
People wake up and then think they're going to go about their day, and then what happens in Maine, like, everything
Right.
changing. I mean, a million different horrible,
Yeah.
catastrophic things we could put in that slot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just the importance of appreciating the people around you, your family, your friends, whatever it is, because oftentimes we talk about people when they're gone, like how special that person was. and
Yes, yes, yes,
what
yes.
kind of like what a great life they lived and how special they were to me. And then they're gone, and you talk about it, but you hit decline on the phone call because you want to watch the end of the TV show or whatever. Like,
Or the end of the game,
and I don't.
or on
Yeah,
the
it's
heels on the heels of your son going through all this craziness that no one expected. And the wild thing is when trauma happens to us and there's no one is at fault. That those are the most wild things to deal with, because you're going, I don't even know how to process this, because there's no one to be mad at. You could try to be mad at God. Good luck with that. But you just have to process it. And so for
mhm.
you, it really got things into perspective of appreciating and being grateful for what you've got and the time you've got. I think that's where you were kind of heading.
Yeah, yeah. It's look, you're met with that, and he can't. I can't change his situation, but he definitely can't.
Yeah.
So, it's just like you said, an appreciation for the finite nature of our daily lives. Knock on wood, right? It's
Uh-huh.
just life. We live in a crazy world. Take those opportunities to go play catch with your kid, and appreciate those around you, and that'll end up making the world a better place, anyways. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. Maybe I was cut
Yeah.
off at the right time because I was getting pretty impassioned in that rant right there. So,
You were getting passionate in that rant. Well,
mm,
that's the interesting thing is it's easy to say you're going to do that. It's hard to actually do that.
mhm.
To not take things for granted and to be locked in every moment of every day, enjoying, sucking it all, like drinking it all in, everything that life, can offer, and you're taking opportunities and taking chances and having courage.
Yep.
It's almost, I think, like a muscle that needs to be worked out. And if you don't use it, it starts to fatigue. What do you think?
Yeah. Um, I saw a piece of artwork on one of this local artist that I follow on Instagram. It said, "No risk, no story," which is
Mm,
cool, right? It's like,
mm-hmm.
you know what? Take the opportunity to go after your dreams. To go. I mean, it sounds so cliche, and I feel
I
cheesy.
know.
I feel cheesy
I
even
know.
saying it, but it all wraps into the same thing, right? That we get one time
Uh-huh.
on this earth. Like my son can't see out of his right eye,
Uh-huh.
um, and I can. So why should I complain about being too tired to go play baseball with him in the backyard? It all wraps into the same thing. It's like
Right.
take advantage of what you have. Um, know that there's everybody's going through something, and love people where they're at, and kind of, I don't know, it's crazy, but all you can do is just, like for him specifically, I just try to keep him happy and keep him as normal as possible. Let him feel like a normal kid, get him on his team, and do the things that he loves and whatnot, and try to be a good dad for him. But
Yeah.
he's doing well so far, so hopefully it continues that way.
I love it.
Yep.
Love it. It changes everything. Being a parent changes everything. And it's always so stunning to me when there are parents that don't, not that they don't do a good job, but just aren't into it. They
Mhm.
have a kid and then they're just not into it. And they brush off the kid as an annoyance, or I've got stuff to do. I've got my life to live, and you're just in my way. It is beyond me to imagine how some parents can be like that. But unfortunately, that's their prerogative.
Yeah,
And
it's sad.
it is sad. But it's parents like you, Andy, that maybe balance everything out, because it sounds like you're doing right by your kids. That's what I would say. And hopefully keep that up, which it's a difficult thing to balance, how much to focus on yourself, because your kid doesn't need a shell of a father. They need a father who has his own passions and his own hobbies and his own friends, because that's a life well lived. And yeah, so hopefully your kid looks at you and says, I want to be like you when I grow up. And if all you do is obsess over your kid and spend time with your kid, and that's all you do, and go to
Right.
work, well, that's not a balanced life either. So,
Right. Yep.
yeah, but being grateful, taking every opportunity, not being lazy. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to not be lazy because sometimes we feel like being lazy. I think it's just finding the right rhythm for rest is a better
Yeah.
way to look
And I
at it,
mean, you can't travel the country every year or do all the things every day. And I mean, I think you and I both understand that's not what I'm getting at either. But I think, if you can
Yeah.
build it in, if people in general can build that into, if you can, or whoever can build that into their cadence of slowing down and appreciating things and, taking,
Mm-hmm.
going after things and, not letting people tell you can't do stuff. I mean, kids that hear this,
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Andy, it's time to land the plane.
Sorry that my phone died on you,
So,
Mike.
dude, it's all good. But so you're saying Rangers are going to take the World Series, but I need to know in how many games? The people need to know from an absolute baseball
Uh,
encyclopedia like yourself. Rangers in 5, Rangers in 4.
Rangers
Are
in
they going to
6. Let's go
Rangers
6.
in 6? All
Yeah.
right. Well, in a couple of weeks when this podcast drops, people will either cheer you on or say how wrong you were because the D-backs took it in 4 or whatever.
Yeah. Honestly, I might be pulling for the D-backs though, because actually, Mike, how did I miss
Yeah.
this? So
What?
Camden, what team is Camden on in Lake Norman Little League? 8-year-olds.
The Diamondbacks.
The Diamondbacks. Hello.
Love it. Love it.
So there you go. I
All right.
change it. Diamondbacks in 5.
Oh.
Diamondbacks in 5. Done.
All right.
Take it.
D-backs in 5.
Take it.
You heard it
Take
here.
it.
All right. Well, tomorrow night we'll see game 1. Andy, it's been great. Thank you for taking the time to share with the people.
Right on.
And look forward to hanging out. Let's go get a
Yep.
coffee or lunch or something.
Sounds good. Thanks for
Or
having me,
play
Mike.
baseball or ride
Appreciate it.
skateboards. We'll go ride skateboards.
I can't do that. All
Have
right.
a good night, man.
See you, Mike.
Later.
Bye.